Good day for the second time. Urgent news. If you are in the Viken area, and I'll explain why specifically the Viken area, did you know how long you had today in order to synthesize vitamin D? Do you know how long the sun was at a high enough angle so you could synthesize vitamin D? 103 minutes, between 12:20 and 2:03. 103 minutes, that's all you had. What were you doing between 12:20 and 2:03? Because it's important you know, because these are the last days that we have in order to synthesize vitamin D. Outside of that, we're going to need to get it from diet stuff and potentially supplementation. And so it's important that you make the most of these last sunny days where the sun gets above 30 degrees in the sky and allows your body to synthesize vitamin D in the best way it knows how, and that is through the sun. Now, just because the sun is going to be below 30 degrees and we're not going to be able to synthesize vitamin D, does that mean we just ignore sunlight exposure altogether? No, simply because we still have other UV rays, we still have infrared rays, and we still have the color spectrum of rays, which can independently do positive things for your body. And so sunlight is still a very, very, very important part of a healthy lifestyle. And just because we can't synthesize vitamin D doesn't mean that that automatically goes out the window. But it's important that you understand that we are in the last time that we are able to synthesize vitamin D until next year. Just let that sink in. It's the last. We've got a little while left before we are not able to synthesize vitamin D from sunlight for the rest of the year and the early part of next year. So for effectively 6 months, you're not going to be able to synthesize vitamin D to any meaningful level. So we're going to have to get it through food and supplementation. So make the most of the final little bit of time we've got. As I say, today was between 12:20 and 2:03. If you are, and of course, how much vitamin D you can synthesize is dependent upon genetics, is dependent upon skin color, is dependent upon weight, is dependent on other health factors. And so, it might be even more important for you to get into the sun where possible, when possible, in these, in the little bit of time we have left. And if you're interested in finding out specifically how much vitamin D synthesis you can make in your particular area, then I highly recommend downloading the D-Minder app. It's just D-Minder, M-I-N-D-E-R. It's free. I'm not affiliated with it in any way, but it really helps me. It really allows me to know when the most appropriate time for sunbathing is, or when the most, the best time to get out and get into the sun for the optimal amount of benefits. And also when I'm coaching clients to say, okay, you're fair-haired, fair-skinned, etc., then perhaps this time is better for you to get your sunlight exposure rather than this time or this time. So yeah, that's the D-Minder app, and that will allow you to know when it is possible to synthesize vitamin D through the skin for the very little time we have left here to do it this year. And so I highly recommend getting that. But even though we cannot synthesize vitamin D very soon, it's still vitally important for your health, both your physiological and your psychological health, that you get sunlight, and sunlight as early in the morning as possible. Now, of course, being in Norway, that's not particularly early, come midwinter, but it's still important that you get it as early as possible. Have a great day, enjoy the sun and enjoy the beautiful warm weather we've got here.